where does Kongye decide to gank? There's not a lot of hard CC to complement that, if you will, from the first game.
Well, let's see for AHQ what they plan on doing here to try and turn around this series, and if we're going to see any change-ups, as they are on blue side once again for the draft, and we have a LeBlanc being banned away from Assassin and the Aphelios red side ban for Alpha.
I wonder if it's going to be the same for AHQ. Maybe less priority on the Senna this time around, as it didn't really work. Maybe the Rek'Sai comes in, kind of taking a page from Machi's book, where they practically just banned all of these 3 champions against Catjug and Assassin in the mid lane.
Seeing here, it's going to be some Catjug jungle bans for the side of AHQ, getting rid of the Lee Sin as well as the Rek'Sai. Alpha continuing the traditional red side bans at the moment in the meta, getting rid of the Kalista and picking up the Syndra as well in their bans, which means Senna is available. Does the side of AHQ really want to try and do this again?
And Alpha is like, okay, I challenge you, maybe not. As the virus is open, Alpha can pick this up for Atlan, or maybe go back to the few weeks of the PCS where it's going to be the typical Ezreal versus Misfortune in the bot side of the map. We'll have to see as what Alpha decides to pick up, as well as Atlan. If you do lock this in, I believe this is going to be the first time ever that Atlan's going to play the Senna if they do lock it in, though.
They went with Kino's Nautilus once again, so we'll have that Dredge line and Depth Charge available for himself. What does Alpha look to see and do here? Do they want to try and get some priority onto a possible another pick like a jungle? Want to try and lock something down here for Catjug to try and take away from Kongya? They are currently hovering the Ezreal, but that would be a pocket pick Jinx coming out here for Atlan very early.
Yeah, they really want to close this series out. They don't want to go to a game number 3, especially that they worked so hard. And that's going to be an insta-lock. Leona against this Jinx, going to put Jinx in a vulnerable spot, vulnerable range towards this Zenith Blade into a stun. But, you know, Uniboy at the beginning of the split has spammed a lot of Zoe, garnering a constant ban whenever teams had to face against HQ, and now it's open.
All right, so it is going to get locked in alongside the Leona here for the side of AHQ. Now, question is, are we going to see a bit of a change-up? Are we going to see that Corki once again? You know what wasn't banned, though? Was this Kassadin? And it's going to get locked in here for Assassin. So we are really going again for the late game. And after what we saw from AHQ, they weren't really proactive in that first map. So I don't blame Alpha for feeling like they're going to be uncomfortable picking this.
Yeah, they're going the distance with the Jinx here, and the Kassadin, you know, when it first appeared in the PCS after the successful Kassadin pick on Alpha, it seemed to garner a lot of bans as well. And at this point, for the Jinx, it has been picked thrice on Atlan and is currently sitting at 100% win rate. So for Alpha, it's putting the cards on the table. Everything is going to be as Alpha is going to ban out the Olaf.
All right, so no Olaf there for Kongyu once again. Aatrox, though, is going to be banned immediately away from Rock, so he's not going to have something comfort for himself. Still, though, that does mean AHQ is susceptible to some jungle bans, as we've already lost the Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, and the Olaf, and now the Jarvan also being banned out here by Alpha.
I wonder what Catjug is going to be playing this time around. When you see too many threats on the side of Alpha, you think maybe they need another peeler. Maybe the Sejuani, maybe Catjug will play the Sejuani, maybe back to the Gragas. This is going to, unless they also go full damage as well, maybe an Echo pick out of nowhere. We saw the Graves earlier. And with this lock-in, it seems to me, we'll find out later on what the jungle is going to be for Alpha.
I'm actually kind of shocked that we're not going to see that right away. I feel like if you look at AHQ's draft, what do you want to try and do for the rest of your composition? Do you just want to get more Wombo combo? Do you go ahead and pick up that Sejuani and then you just lay in ult after ult and then maybe pair that up possibly with an Ornn in the top lane for Civ?
That is going to be the case. Now that is an Ornn, and yeah, at least it's still open for Alpha. They've decided to remove Olaf instead of Jarvan, which actually is pretty good considering that is going to be access towards your backline. Jinx is going to be insanely vulnerable. But now,
Oh,
it's going to be a
Kanya.
Graves. There's 3 damage threats on the side of AHQ.
There we go. So we got the Graves locked in through the jungle. So we get to see our second Graves here of the PCS. I believe actually it showed a little bit of popularity over in the LPL a couple days ago. So it's starting to peak up back again. But now for Catjug, if he really wants to just be a menace and be so annoying to deal with this composition, you lock in the Kindred in the jungle.
That's 4 damage threats. That's 4 damage threats on the side of Alpha. And I was wondering whether or not they'd lock in the Sejuani for additional peel for your carries, especially such as a Jinx pick. But now seeing that Graves being picked up by Kongye, Catjug just really wants to match that power farm and add a little bit more AD carry on the side of Alpha to make it even against AHQ.
Oh, you don't. Maybe that's the idea. You don't need peel when you're able to just save everybody's life during this wombo combo that's going to come out from AHQ. And then the idea is then you can turn back the fight on its heels and then take down AHQ immediately. So we'll have to see. I think for the side of Alpha, I think it's fair to say that they can feel comfortable going into this composition just based on how AHQ played last game, where they were so hesitant to try and make anything happen early, where it just allowed, you know, the rest of Alpha to scale up. And honestly, I'm a little bit scared here for the side of AHQ, especially now that we have Kongye that's going to be onto a Graves of everything we've now seen from him in the PCS.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a first time. And for Graves, still not exactly tried and tested just yet, considering we did see yesterday our first ever Graves, unfortunately, or rather on Friday, unfortunately, it didn't really work out so well. But for Alpha, they seem to have HQ all figured out. I guess it's all about trying to stop that bleed just in case Uniboy gets some early game kills. I mean, it's going to be a Kassadin versus this Zoe, so I'm a little bit afraid of that pre-level 6 poke.
Yeah, pre-level 6 we'll have to see. And of course, the level 6, the pre-level 6 is rather it's pretty short. So there's going to be that gap there. So
that's true.
We'll see. I think though it's going to come down to, especially during a lot of these later fights, as I have the sun glaring into my eyeballs now from afar. It's going to be like this. Lamb's Respite, especially from Catjug, especially in the later game team fights, if he's able to keep Atlin alive on this Jinx so he can start snowballing, he can get excited procs going off during the team fights, it's just going to be a bit nasty. It's going to be a bit devastating there on the side of AHQ, so I'm definitely scared to see whether or not they're going to be able to stand up here in the late game.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, there's not exactly any sort of displacement that can remove certain members away from the Lamb's Respite, so everyone is just going to stay in that big circle to stay safe. So there's actually, in terms of synergy too, there's not a lot as well when it comes to removing certain people away from that circle. So I think that will be the huge challenge for AHQ.
We'll see. We're going to be loading on this rift really shortly. I just got word that we had a quick little disconnect heading into the game, so they're just going to try and get, I believe it was the Atlin there for the side of Alpha to get rejoined. And yeah, I can hear the music right now. Let's go ahead and jump on into the rift here. Alpha looking to eliminate AHQ after AHQ finished 2nd overall in spring. Now fighting for their lives in the lower bracket, need this game to tie up the series in order to force a Game 3.
I find it absolutely crazy that J-Team had to go home, HKA has to fight for their lives later on, and HQ is in danger of dropping in this game as well. And that is, we're living in a crazy timeline right now.
It's a pretty crazy timeline. I don't know if it's the best timeline to be in, but it is the one we're going to have to deal with as we load on into the rift once again. AHQ. We're seeing new strategies come out from them all of a sudden, by the way. I don't know why all these teams are like, yeah, let's try this new comp that we've never really proven we can play on stage in playoffs. This is also like the Graves pick for me too. I think that is such a risky pickup to go for. Like, I get Kongye, I believe, has had plenty of experience on the champion. Just the fact that we're only now just starting to see it resurge after being a bit of a solo queue, you know, little trick up a lot of junglers' sleeves in the last couple patches. Now seeing it here in competitive, I'm a bit scared.
Quite an understandable feeling considering you're right, it is quite new for AHQ to draft this for Kongye, especially that it's Alpha that really constricted the jungle pool that was successful for Kongye, including the Jarvan and as well as the Olaf. So for HQ, really forced to make this work. This is such a do-or-die situation for them. And you know, Yuri Boy back at it again with his comfort champion. Imagine those were the days where he was at 32 KDA as HQ was undefeated at the first round robin. Almost, until they met with Talon. And with that, Sarah as well on this Leona. So this will be very scary for Atlan, considering there's just so many axes, so many CC, which was my main complaint actually at the first game.
It's going to be a pretty simple clear between the two. Catjug actually already marking Kongyu in the jungle. So we'll see whether or not he's able to find it. We'll see how many marks Catjug is actually able to stack up here, especially in the early part of the game. Because the last time we got to see Kindred, I believe it was Ripper's Kindred over on the side of Talon. He ended up getting somewhere, I think it was around like 8 or 9 stacks before 15, 20 minutes. And at that point, it was just absolutely disgusting to see the Kindred come online. So I think that's the one scary part there for AHQ is if Catjug is able to find opportunities early, it really helps bridge the gap into the late game that they're looking for.
And considering, you know, this is a pick that Catjug has already picked up at least once. This was a match between Verjaya, against Verjaya rather, and it was rather successful as well. So for Kongye, this is going to be a different environment for sure, but in terms of against his jungle matchup, it is quite different since it's for first time we'll see the Kindred versus the Graves.
Especially in this bot lane too, we get to see Atlan, who's been frequenting the Jinx time and time when it comes to the PCS. That's a bit unfortunate there for Catjug. He got the wrong roll when it came to the Scuttle, so he doesn't get that stack to start the game off immediately as it's taken there by Kongyu.
Yep, that is quite unfortunate. As he goes back to power farm a little bit, as we can see an early roam actually from the side of AHQ.
They looking to see if whether or not Catjug actually passed here. I don't know whether or not. Let's see. Are they just going to go for a full dive here as Assassin is forced to flash? So at least get a flash out of the Gaston here. A rather very aggressive play coming out from AHQ, and it does pay off.
And it's just we talked about the pre-level 6 where there's not a lot of safety without the Rift Rock just yet. Assassin will be forced to use a flash considering that Alpha opted again for this teleport for Assassin. Uniboy is after that kills with that ignite. So just less defensive summoner spells on the side of Assassin when it comes to this lane.
Atlan is left alone in the lane as that was actually Kino that was trying to look for a roam up toward the top side. One thing that's going to be very concerning here for AHQ is if Ysera and Wako aren't able to find any kind of early kills, especially in the early part of this game, in this lane, the Ignite kind of feels bad when you could have had an exhaust, especially going up against something like a Jinx, especially early on where, you know, exhaust just does so much to her because of how she just operates primarily off attack speed as well as just your damage output.
Very true. It just shows that for AHQ, again, very confident that it's going to be a double ignite on the side of Beauty Boy and Sarah. So they're really after these early game kills. And now they're looking towards Dragon, which is understandable considering Alpha opted a more of a late game composition.
Yeah, there's not real any reason here for Alpha to try and contest this, especially the fact that it's not going to be like a stacking Infernal. They're only going to get the one, so it's not necessarily a massive amount of damage that could start stacking up over time in favor of AHQ, especially when you have like a poke composition with a Zoe in the mid lane, or the lone poker when it comes to AHQ's composition, where she could half-health people with the Paddle Star when she has the Infernal Soul. So not the end of the world here for Alpha. Is going to be Cloud next, which means we either are going to have a Mountain or an Ocean Drake Soul, which actually is rather spicy for both of these teams to have.
For sure. And for Catjug, just doing Catjug things, gonna steal the Wolves. Meanwhile for AHQ, for Kongya in general, I don't think he has been able to steal anything just yet in comparison to what we've seen in the previous game, as the Grump will be the next target. where does Kongya decide to path? He instead will go downwards.
That's with the Cat Jug able to finish off the Gromp, but once again, he's actually left open his mark down on the bot side of the map, so he's going to be likely denied this once again. But do they try and find a play off in top lane? There's not really anything he can really do. He's still not level 6. Kino trying to get himself to safety. Oh, flashes away because he saw the bubble coming in from Uniboy, so that's going to be at least a flash going down for Kino as Cat Jug is opting just to go ahead and try and farm up to level 6 right away.
Better safe than sorry, as many flashes have been burned. Question is, what does AHQ decide to do with those burned flashes? As it does open up a potential dive. There's a ward there though for Kongya. He will be spotted out. We'll see whether or not they're gonna push with this, as Ysera is walking towards the jungle as well.
Yeah, just kind of grouped up as a squad, at least trying to see whether or not they're going to be able to take out Cat Jug in any way, as Assassin's actually going to roam on over. The blue buff just spawned, so for the side of AHQ, they could try and look to try and jump onto Assassin. He does have his Rift Walk available, so he should be able to get himself to safety, as we also see Wako making his way up toward the mid lane, but unfortunately nothing they're going to be really able to get off that.
Yeah, and again, we talked about the Ignite. We're hoping that for AHQ, they are able to set up these early fights, possibly, maybe even Rift Herald. And it's going to be understandable that Alpha may not really contest that, as they're looking into maybe perhaps the second Rift Herald to contest, as that's going to be a lot of gold if they do funnel that for Wako, especially.
Well, nothing's really happening at this point for either of these squads. That's kind of the okay game plan here on the side of Alpha. Honestly, this is kind of what they want to go for as far as their composition. You're looking to scale. You're waiting for that level 16 to be there for Assassin. You're waiting for the stacked items on the Kassadin. You're going to be waiting for, you know, the 3 to 4 item Jinx when she starts coming online and able to rain down the rockets and the bullets. It's all part of the plan here for Alpha, and unfortunately for AHQ, we're kind of seeing a little bit of the playstyle that we saw last game, which I really hope we wouldn't have saw this game.
Exactly, and Alpha can just replicate that. Considering I think that one of the issues is that wave clear is solved in the form of, you know, the long range rockets coming from Jinx. So any sort of setup of a dive that they really so desire is not available for at least. Actually, it will not be available if Alpha is really setting up the waves properly. So I think that will be the scary part. But this leaves Kino at least to. That's a nice double up.
Atlan really gutsy to be trying to go for this. Kino's going to try and walk on over, but unfortunately, Atlan got chunked so low that Wako could honestly try and turn this one back. You can see he's already getting aggressive here, has flash available, he wants to go for it, and he gets himself first blood, and that is just a blatant amount of disrespect coming out from Alpha. The simple fact you don't have level 6 on the Nautilus, you should not be going for that play.
Especially considering that's a BF sword already on the side of HQ, on the side of Wako, so, and the pickaxe only for Atlan, so you can't necessarily try to outdamage that. And unfortunately, Kino at this point, with only that boot's not going to be exactly as tanky as expected, even though you have all the CC in the world. So this is such an unfortunate turn of events, and definitely not what Alpha really wanted to do.
Yeah, because look, you also don't even have minions helping you out, so Kino's just soaking up minion damage, and that adds up over time. The fact, once Atlan got poked out, Kino should have been like, yeah, no, we can't go for this. Because there's no follow-up CC other than his first auto attack and his hook.
And yeah, and considering there is a level gap too, a 2-level gap between Kino and Wako, so again, he's gonna be very squishy against this Misfortune. But look at Alpha though, a lot of wards. Look at all the control wards just spread out perfectly, either by the river or maybe near the jungle, inside the jungle of Alpha. So they're really trying to keep track of any sort of funny business from Ysera and Kongyu in general.
AHQ though, going to go ahead and start up second Dragon. There isn't really any contest that can come out from Alpha at this point, so I do like that Alpha is realizing, hey, these are not fights we need to go for. We will probably not win them. We shouldn't even try to win them. we might as well just go ahead and concede, because all we're waiting for is this game pretty much depends on AHQ to be the ones to be proactive, to at least try and force something to happen before that 30 to 35 minute mark.
And it works perfectly too, in favor of AHQ, considering this gives time for Uniboy to scale, for Wako, and especially Kongye too. So combining, if ever Uniboy is not able to burst someone down immediately, you have that collateral damage coming from Kongye and Wako as well.
He'll get himself to safety. Yasera, whoo, just flashes to safety. Meanwhile, Shelly is able to get a good amount of damage onto the mid lane tower. Will not fall though, so Assassin still has that, but I like the idea from AHQ. You're trying to force pretty much Assassin to have to stay in the mid lane pretty much non-stop. Alpha, though, once they have level 6 on this Nautilus, they're feeling a little bit more confident to start going for maybe some skirmishes.
And for AHQ, they will depend definitely on either the Wombos, especially when you have that Leona ult. Everyone is just going to bathe in the bullet time, or perhaps even the collateral damage. Works well too with landing the bubble. So for Alpha, they really have to be careful, considering there's not exactly the real tank in the side of Alpha's composition. Everyone is practically squishy, and for survivability, Cat Jug's Lamb's Respite will be very key in the 5v5s later on.
See Rock getting a little bit aggressive here, and he's been victim to this before, as that's a decent amount of burst damage. Even in this 1v1, it's not working out all that well. A very late teleport is going to come out here from Assassin to try and turn things back around. Gets a decent chunk of damage onto Kongye, waiting for the cooldowns, but not able to find it, as he still only has that 1 point in his ultimate at level 10.
Rocket?
Rocket. Hello. Nice job there by Civ to intercept.
I love the question mark emo too. Yeah, that was a little bit risky, but HQ, 3 steps ahead, managed to block that one out with a perfect recall angle. And yeah, this is definitely Rock wanting to maybe pile in some fury, maybe get the heals. Unfortunately, you're not as strong versus the 1v2. And for Assassin, he's still not going to be very scary. Oh, wait.
That's just them going really aggressive, and they trade back a kill in top lane. I was about to say, you know, there's been times when Rock isn't able to actually find himself a kill early on, and that ends up really biting Alpha in the behind, but luckily for them, oh no, Cat Jug. Meanwhile, bot lane, that's going to be the Wombo combo, and Kino gets the shield, but the Ignite is ticking, and he'll get taken down. It looks like Cat Jug also going to get taken down there, not able to survive via the Lamb's Respite.
Disrespect, though, coming from Cat Jug, pathing that way, maybe hoping that Uniboy would just go back to lane after destroying that outer tower. That was an interesting path, again, coming from Cat Jug, and there was just kills everywhere. Top side, then in every single lane. Problem is, HQ won that one.
We'll take another look here. Yeah, I don't really know why Cat Jug wants to go this way. He ends up having to pop his Lamb's Respite very early, and actually has to walk out, and once you give up, like, yeah, you can't outrun a Zoe when you flash, unfortunately.
Yeah, pick up a bunch of sums, and that would be magic for Uniboy. And yeah, this is not exactly what Alpha intends to do, considering that that's 1 kill apiece for all the carries on the side of HQ. Again, it's not entirely over, but they will have to deal with the next Rift Herald when they spawn, and that is perfect since HQ again managed to get a bunch of kills before this happened.
Push comes to shove here up on the top side. Now Civ, AHQ as a whole too, sitting at about a 2,000 gold lead, as you can see by that gold graph. Items, though, have been started to pick up here for Alpha, and that's kind of now the waiting game we're waiting on. Can Assassin hit level 16? Is he going to be able to become that split push threat that no one on the side of AHQ can really deal with, especially once he has his fully stacked tier, as well as the Roa? AHQ, though, they're going to go ahead and start up the second Rift Herald here immediately, and Alpha kind of have to concede this once again.
Yeah, especially with the composition that they formed, they have to be very, very patient. Big differences, though. Atlan, again, managed to get that tower down, get additional gold, so even leading that CS lead just a little bit versus Wako, as Wako had to stop in the lane as Atlan was already destroying the outer tower at bot.
Mountain Drake is here, though, for Alpha. See, is there an opportunity for them to really even try and fight over this? We already have AHQ already setting themselves up here. You already see Ping's going to come out. Meanwhile, Rock on the top side of the map. Going to try and get the split push down. He doesn't actually have teleport, so this is, again, another Dragon that is going to go in favor of AHQ. Of the two, I'll have to say, I think Alpha got a little bit lucky that at least it isn't an Ocean Soul. I think Ocean Soul would be just dire against their composition in the later part of the game. Mountain, though, does give a bit of buffing over to AHQ if they do obtain the Soul overall and get some extra shielding.
Very true. But then, you're right, they're kind of lucky considering that for Alpha, their composition is basically overwhelm you with damage later on to the later parts of the game. And the big question is, actually, my statement would be, I don't think the Mountain Drake, Dragon Soul rather, would help you versus an Assassin that will immediately pop you off, or Atlan as well once you get Jinx either to 3 items. We'll have to see, as for now, Alpha is keeping it chill.
Let's see. It's going to be 4 minutes on that Soul. Whether or not AHQ will decide to go for it is going to be the question. That'll be spawning at about 21 minutes. By then, we do have ourselves the Baron on the map as well, as Rock is going to be forced back through his jungle. Let's take a little peek on over to Cat Jug as he continues his little farm game. It's been a rather quiet Kindred so far. HQ got some decent vision though, so they have full knowledge of where this Kindred's been pathing for the last couple minutes. As Uniboy just fishing for a quick bubble, as Rock is going to try and at least clear out the tower in top lane.
And for Assassin, his teleport is going to come back online. You see, there's a lot of control wards for Alpha that's a little bit advanced, so he can teleport if ever. That comes back online. For Ziv, he doesn't have his teleport. So you can see Assassin already going back to base, buying additional items, and perhaps even moving towards this top side.
That's going to be Riptail here. Pop, though, is spotted by Alpha, and with that bubble is enough to actually allow Shelly to be able to path around the train, and they don't take down the tower, but a gust of wind will blow it over on the next minion wave once it lands. So AHQ have themselves set up to knock that down rather easily when they need to. And AHQ just going to continue getting their vision line down into the jungle of Alpha, as Assassin's starting to creep closer and closer to that level 16. So Alpha, like if you look at how the current state of the game is, AHQ really needs to start finding a bit more of a gold lead, because if it's only about 1,000 gold difference when we hit 30-35 minutes, I'd say this is Alpha's game.
Yeah, I mean, for Alpha, when it comes to the late game, they just have to play around the bullet time, try to bait that out, and not open yourselves up for a wombo, because for Atlan, at least he does have cleanse, but for the rest of the members, at least they have that Lamb's Respite to counter that. So you're right, it is a bit scary for AHQ if they don't really push with their spikes. I suppose they are still waiting for Waco's second item before they hit that go signal, actually when Waco gets his Infinity Edge for more painful bullet times.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you do see here maybe a possible play coming out. Civ is a pretty tanky boy. That's actually going to be the ult coming down, and he doesn't actually have a whole lot of magic resist. He's actually only got armor, so Assassin could just shred him apart. It's just the added CC that he needed, and that is the first kill for the Kassadin. And that is a scary time now here for AHQ. The fact that Assassin can easily rip apart Civ.
And for AHQ, they've decided to trade that mid lane tower. Actually, it's still intact. They've actually managed to at least try to push the different waves in exchange for Ziv losing his life, unfortunately. But yeah, if Assassin gets ahead, it's going to be insanely scary. And at this point where, you know, HQ is still going to be building towards their damage items rather than those magic resists just to try and deny more of that burst from Assassin, it's going to get a little bit scary for Waco and Uniboy in particular.
Yeah, because Civ is still not sitting on any MR on his build at this point, which is a little bit concerning. Mountain Drake is spawning in 50 seconds. You did see Alpha was able to get a decent amount of wards through the jungle of AHQ, but instantly were cleared off the back as they headed back toward the Dragon Pit. I'm interested to see now if Alpha is going to try and at least contest this Drake. Do they feel comfortable giving over the Mountain Soul, or do they want to try and delay it by just a Dragon? We'll see now is CatJug is going to go ahead and clear out the mid lane. A whole lot of vision coming out from Alpha. Rock is heading top. He does have teleport available. Civ is already near on by to go ahead and get the Zenith Blade, and that is the Lamb's Respite having to be used instantly here. CatJug gets himself to safety. That's a lot of ultimates used on the side of AHQ. Does Alpha want to try and go for this turnaround?
Whoa.
Rock teleports on in, and that's a missed solar flare. That's your go button if you're on the side of Alpha. They go ahead. Kino, though, gets taken down immediately, and the target selection on the side of Alpha is not there. Assassin, though, still wants to try and find this. He's not able to find a single kill. Atlan finally gets his reset, but it's a little bit too late, and Alpha is going to get taken down.
Oh my, that didn't go according to plan. CatJug's still alive, though. He's getting the dragon. Unfortunately, CatJug was not around in that fight to contribute to the additional damage because AHQ, there were a lot of low health targets.
And that was a lot used to try and take down the original first target on Alpha, and I thought, honestly, AHQ were in a little bit of trouble considering they used all their ultimates, but then Alpha somehow had worse target selection during all of that fight. Assassin, Atlan, they all were hitting these different targets as all things started, and it started with CatJug getting caught out.
Yeah, I was a little bit scared for CatJug because he was comfortable just trying to deward without any sort of vision in this area. And as you can see, different target selection, just as you mentioned, Atlan had to move a little bit backwards. Solar Flare already missing, and that was the go signal. Kino had to be bursted down immediately. Isera was their target, unfortunately, and Uniboy and Wacko were untouched. And the Rocket did help out chip down more HP of these targets, but your front line is already gone. CatJug was not around.
And Atlan, like, for that kind of fight, Atlan actually has gone rapid fire cannon, so he's a little bit more just a little bit of poke damage, which unfortunately, now that the Mountain Soul has been obtained here for AHQ, that little bit of poke style play is not going to be all that great. Lines Respite is available for CatJug if he needs to use it. Kino goes down low, and it's a very late ultimate coming out from CatJug. Assassin on the flank still wanted to try and maybe go for a fight. Alpha, their team fights here are extremely messy.
I agree. Oh, they're too advanced. Good thing the bubble does not connect. Okay, I was a little bit scared there, but yeah, rapid fire cannon, it gives you a little bit of safety, and it at least gives you that early fighting power to match out that 2-item power spike against HQ, because they really wanted to deny that Earthdrake. Unfortunately here, they managed to lose that earlier fight with AHQ, I believe not able to reset just yet, and the Lamb's Respite was a little bit too late, so unable to save Kino there in that tower.
So now it's going to be 9-3 in favor of AHQ. Now sitting at about a 3,500 gold lead. Assassin just going to go into a side wave. He is still now almost gotten both of his items stacked up, so we're still waiting on this Kassadin to get into that point where he's able to just burst down people, but AHQ now have a little bit of safety, a little bit of comfort when it comes to these fights, it seems, as Alpha have been just a bit all over the place when it comes to what they want to decide to do. Some players want to go for a fight, some players just don't want to fight, some want to save ultimate, some, well, they get caught out. It's a little bit of a step down from what we saw in Game 1.
Yeah, it was a little bit messy, and I think it's due to the fact that CatJug got caught out. The plan was, the reason why, you know, getting this rapid fire cannon for your second item so you can match the fighting power and add a little bit of safety with that range when it comes to the dragon fights. Unfortunately, again, it was CatJug that had to consume that Lamb's Respite to escape. And with that said, it was even a 4v5 as CatJug was actually trying to get the Mountain Drake. And for HQ now, they're in a comfy spot. They're in control. You can see Ziv already trying to plant a bit of upgrades on towards the items for himself. A gauntlet completed. You did mention not a lot of MR still existing on the side of HQ, so that could be that window, especially Assassin still waiting on that Seraph's Embrace to be maxed out.
CatJug, that's the combo, but unfortunately Solar Flare is not going to connect. So it doesn't look like they're going to have to worry about anything. AHQ, though, with the inside track toward the top side of the map. We're going to go ahead and start whacking away toward this second-tier tower as Rock gets caught out here. Uniboy finding some good bubbles. Also got to remember that you're going to have Elder Dragon spawning in about 2 minutes because of the 4th dragon being taken. AHQ are going to continue pushing in. Assassin does have teleport. This is the play that AHQ need to find. They need to get themselves these towers, these inhibitors down on the side of Alpha. Catjug again just holding on to his Lamb's Respite, able to calculate the damage it seems. He gets himself back to safety as Assassin's still in the bot lane pushing away.
Yeah, trying to get some more farm, trying to get some more push to get more control over bot side, so that AHQ will have to push that first before committing at the upper portions of the map, rather. And yeah, I feel like Assassin is getting close to bursting people down. Problem is, AHQ is also trying to build up their defense. You can see a stopwatch already on the side of Wacko. And Assassin's still waiting for that Lich Bane.
And it looks like we have a bit of a pause here as looks like multiple players over there on the side of Alpha having a connection reset. So we'll come back to us here. And as far as the gameplay goes, like, AHQ are doing the right steps now if they want to try and end this game early, and that's what they need to try and do here, because there is still that, you know, late game scaling that's going to come online with the Kassadin, with your Jinx, as well as a little bit of the Kindred as well on the side of Alpha, which can easily turn back the play. So I think right now AHQ are taking the right steps. The fact they were able to knock down one of the inhibitor towers is a great step, and it gives them a little bit more control and a little bit more leeway when they were looking toward objectives like the Elder Drake as well as the Baron.
Yeah, especially when you consider that after maybe the next step would be pressuring Baron. That means Alpha has to take a fight that they're not ready just yet. And considering that is a misfortune on the opposite side and a big collateral damage on the side of Graves, so these two picks and in combination with the Zoe pick is just going to be deadly in Baron pits or just objective fights in general. And with that, if they don't contest, they're going to lose more and more structures, which just puts Alpha in a very tight corner to make big decisions and make every single fight count.
So we see a little bit of the HQ players at the moment. And some yawns coming in. Come on, guys. It's only, you know, about 7 o'clock local time. It's still some daylight hours in there. No point being tired right now. Maybe that's the secret. They've been able to wake up here after a rather calm and drawn-out Game 1. As we'll see what exactly the tech issue here is on the side of Alpha. Looks like they may have had a ping spike on their stage computer. So, well, again, we'll get you guys updated when we can, as we'll have more info when that takes place. But currently, as it stands, series is in favor of Alpha 1-0. If AHQ lose today, they will be out of playoffs, as Alpha can then move on and try and climb back up the bracket to make it into our grand finals. And it's also interesting too here when it comes to these squads, because after the end of today, everyone actually goes on for that 1 week break, and then we come back into our grand finals with that preparation in hand, getting themselves reset and focused to try and take home the championship for spring in the PCS.
Yeah, and meanwhile for Machi, they have a 2 week break actually, just watching the matches that is going to transpire to see who's going to fight Talon. Possibly fight Talon rather, and who's going to go home tonight. Again, I feel overwhelmed that the fact that after tonight we only have 4 teams left, and considering that we might even have another Worlds representative as an organization go home tonight.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people were expecting that. There's a possibility that we don't see AHQ, J-Team, Hong Kong Attitude in the playoffs anymore. After representing LMS last year at the World Championship in Europe, there's a very strong possibility that we get to see a new banner when it comes to the champions of the region. Maybe returning banners, though, is Machi looking very strong. You could also see new organizations finding success. The fact that we still have like orgs like Talon as well as Berjaya still doing well. It's great to see that these new organizations entering the scene are able to hold their own against some of the more established ones.
Exactly, and I think that's such an interesting story, as considering that this is the first time in a while that we're seeing the two regions back again together in the same region when it comes to the PCS. And therefore, I'm a little bit scared, especially for AHQ now and as well as for HKA, considering, again, for game number 1, at least for AHQ, it didn't look the best. But it seems to me that they've managed to wrap things up from game number 1 and get that reset. And it seems to me Alpha, the success of their composition to work is looking really grim right now.
Yeah, it's looking a little grim. Not end of the world, though. There's still hope. You got that scaling that can come in later part of the game, as well as the side of AHQ. Like, it's all about trying to end this game as fast as possible because there is a timer ticking. So I think for AHQ, if they keep playing the way they have, especially with Uniboy, he's actually really stepped it up this game. He's had a couple really nice Zoe bubbles that have been able to catch out members like CatJug on the side of Alpha, where they'll be able to find themselves a little bit caught out when it comes to the overall play. I do have a quick update for you guys. It may look like we are going to be going to a short break as we resolve the tech issue. I'll keep you updated, though. It sounds like there's just something happening over with Alpha, so hopefully we'll get more information for you guys once I have it in hand. But for now, it is, again, a reminder. This is currently a best of 3. If AHQ do lose, they are out of playoffs, and Alpha would advance to the next round. So we'll see when that is going to be taking place. I think for now, we actually are going to go ahead and send it to a break. So once we are back into the action, we'll get ourselves picked up and ready once again. So stay tuned. PCS will resume after a short break. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After that quick little resolve, it looks like we've been able to get ourselves back into the action. Of course, AHQ currently up 9-3 here in Game 2. And now looking toward possibly picking up an Elder Drake, as ALF still wanting to scale as this game goes, as unfortunately they're still waiting about 5 to 6 minutes before this team composition really starts to come online.
Yeah, Hex Drinker picked up for Atlan for a little bit more defense against Uniboy at least. Seraph's Embrace already completed for Assassin and as well as Zhonya's. So not going for that Lichbane just yet and more opting towards that safety to dive and buy some more time in the fights. And especially, it's Elder Drake coming up. This could be the time for Alpha to make something happen or make something right, because they tried earlier and it didn't work out.
Ooh, way off there it goes with the hook on the side of Kino. Even popping his ultimate. That's a lot being burned here on the side of Alpha, but even then with that Mountain Drake, it's been able to soak up a decent amount of damage off the shielding, and now AHQ able to poke back a little bit, but unfortunately if you're on the side of Alpha, this is not looking like the best case scenario you want to try and find yourself in, because now we see virtually an identical scenario where they have to blindly face check this brush into the river to even try and contest this, and we start to see a bit of the pattern of this mid lane back and forth ARAM. There we go. It's going to be a nice bubble there onto the Renekton. Catdog taking pretty low, still has his ultimate, pops it immediately. Bullet time is going to be there, and he's able to actually save multiple members of the team in the back line. Rock goes, can't find his target. He'll get taken on down, and unfortunately for Alpha, it's just a little bit too soon before this composition comes online, as that's also going to be Kino taking himself down.
So many low health targets, and all this time Uniboy was low. Ziv heading towards topside. Atlan 1/4 HP with 2 people down, with AHQ already marching towards Alpha's base.
And that's a quick turnaround here. AHQ, they said we did not want to wait any longer as they go ahead and take the fight there. Atlan able to stay back to safety, pops his ultimate. He doesn't even shred any of the normal health bars. It's just too darn tanky. Catjug with a miracle flank. I don't think it's going to work out. And like that, AHQ are able to tie back the series against Alpha and keep their hopes of trying to climb back up into the winner's bracket once again alive.
What a interesting turn of events, as AHQ just feels like that it's another day at work, considering that their composition worked really well in their favor, and for Alpha really banked on that late game. But of course, that's just having a lot of trust that AHQ will not try something at the early to mid.
Yeah, so AHQ there, unfortunately, for the side of Alpha, tried to go for a fight, ends up just getting taken down immediately. So that's a little bit unfortunate when it comes to the overall play. It was just rather quick. I wasn't expecting the game. I was like, you know what? I believe Alpha can maybe, scale it back. I even said it during the break there. And then they're just like, yeah, let's just try and go for a fight. They used everything on the Misfortune. Kino's like, all right, my hook didn't land. All right, I'll throw my ultimate. And then the rest of the team's like, what are you doing? We can't fight this. And then it was just so much of a commitment coming out on the side of Alpha that they felt like they had to get something out of it, but they ended up losing more.
And I feel like there was just too many damage threats with no peel exactly, because they would rely on Kino to be that air quote peeler. Unfortunately, Renekton also has been picked up for that buffer. Didn't work out really well, as Rock didn't get ahead. Maybe 2 kills would have been really nice to help transition to mid. And yeah, at this point, Renekton will fall off, but for Wako, and Uniboy as well, no one was able to reach them, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, too. We're going to go ahead and take a look toward one of the team fights. This was the first time they blindly checked this rush, and this is kind of just the snowball which Alpha just could not stop.
And I feel like this could have been won if Catjug wasn't picked off immediately, and he lingered around a little bit further on this Dragon Pit, so it was a 4v5. Catjug was not around. He tried to walk back, so it makes me wonder, what if it was a complete 5v5 even without the Lance respite?
Yeah, because unfortunately, I'm not 100% exactly sure what the plan was there from Catjug, because he went such a weird path, too. He went all the way back down toward the Dragon Pen, then he tried to take Dragon without being seen, and I'm like, Again, it comes down to a bit of the decision-making from Alpha and a bit of communication, because once again, every time this team isn't able to get, say, an early kill, like what we saw up in that top lane where Rock was, you know, trying to figure out if he could try and go for that 1v1, it ended up costing them a teleport. It costed them momentum. And I think on the side of Alpha, they really need to figure out a way to calm themselves down when it comes to these kind of plays and to these situations. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's going to be Game 3 between AHQ and Alpha to decide who's moving on in the playoffs.